good to be out and about. Spring practice underway. There's a little heat in the horizon. The clock's getting moved forward on Sunday. Spring football is back. We talk about it here tonight. Everything that we observe, which, got to be honest, isn't a lot, but I do think some big early observations to take away, not so much as one-on-one, 1v1, because we did not see that, but just maybe what Blake Baker wants to do, what we saw in the formations and different multiple things that they did. We posted it, actually, on the AYS forum, ayssnetwork.com. We will break down basically all of what we wrote in the article and what we observed. I thought that you did see, as Brian Kelly alluded to in his post-practice report, we will touch on a lot of the things that he said in there here tonight. So a lot of football to talk about, a lot of things to get into about what we saw today. I'm very excited. You know, we had to be there early this morning. You can ask my wife. I was as fired up at 5:30 in the morning to get rolling. You have no idea. We got some college football here. So we'll give you all those nuggets as well. We'll preview a little bit as well. LSU's weekend, Jay Johnson releases who his three star is going to be. Not going to change from anything that we saw this past weekend. What do we want to see the weekend before you start conference play against Mississippi State? We'll touch on that tonight here as well. I will talk on the Mike Thomas situation, why people – and look, I don't even know Jeff Duncan. Never met Jeff Duncan a day in my life. Never spoke to him. Don't know if I ever will. What I have said about Mike Thomas today is nothing to stick up for Jeff Duncan. Zero. I don't know the guy, at all. But – clearly, now that you have these different reports coming out, apparently Mike Thomas is going to get released before the new NFL year takes away. And I'm like, okay, well, is he being released or is he isn't? Well, then you got other people saying, well, he only had a 1-year contract. Well, then Catherine Terrell said, actually, that's not technically true because if they cut him, if they don't cut him, he's got incentives and don't care about that with Mike Thomas. All I care about is how big of a personality, or not even let me say personality, let me just call him what he is, a cancer that he has been over the last couple of years. Oh, well, he laid it all on the line for New Orleans. He laid it all on the line for the Saints. Okay, maybe a little bit fair. So does everybody else that goes out there and plays their asses off. I mean, what are we discussing here? Oh, Mike Thomas is going to get me in that situation again where I just don't want to talk about him, but nevertheless, here we are. Nevertheless, here we are. So we'll talk about that, and we'll do our hashtag Ask Blake here at the end. You got thoughts, questions, concerns, you could fire them inside the Rudy Crew chat. William Hano says, seems that Coach K is very happy with this team, who seems to believe it's a team-led effort. Can't wait. He's talking about BK. Yeah, I thought that was probably the biggest thing that he said today. I don't think that there's anything. I wish that he would have been asked. I probably should have been the one that asked him about the radio and helmets, and probably ask him about what he thought with the situation with the NCAA in Tennessee. Those probably – Trey Holly, like how Trey Holly was not asked is another thing. Like, how do you not ask him about that? I mean, I get he's going to say, well, he's suspended. You know, we're just going to let the legal process play out, I should say. But, I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, like, you could have said he's still technically on the rosters. Like, what would you have said to that? I mean, there's so many different things we could have gotten to him, too, with today. But talked a lot about his team, a lot of things that he thought. I do think that the biggest nugget that I will give you here tonight revolves BK and some things that I saw around him as well. Moist says, heard you were talking about Pittman's hot. Oh, man. Not you, Moist. Bro, it's funny, man, because you can't even slip up once. You know, I do 10 shows a week. 10 shows a week. And that's not even like the guest spots that we do. And I slip up one time, and it's got to be the worst word I've ever said. Yes, I said a bad word. A very bad word. William Hano says, you just mean he's an asshole. Sorry for the language. Yeah, I mean, you can say that. I mean, he is. I mean, a month ago, he's saying, well, there's a reason that nobody wants to be the Saints OC. It's not like he ain't talking shit about your team. Saints fans, he don't like your ass. He's going to go to another team, and if you get in a spat with him, I mean, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Like, I mean, he ain't real. I mean, be real with yourself. He's run his mouth on Twitter. Every Saints fan has had a take about somebody like Antonio Brown. Now, he ain't that level of crazy, at least not yet. But come on, man. You wouldn't let this fly with if somebody in Atlanta was doing this. You wouldn't let that fly for the Falcons. Not even remotely close would you let that shit fly what Mike Thomas is doing right now. And you wouldn't stick up for the player. You would be trashing the Falcons. Saying, look how bad this looks on your team and program. Yes, indeed. Mickey says on YouTube, Saints, who cares? We want LSU. Good with you. Good with me, man. I mean, we're going to talk about it at the end. We got a lot of football we need to talk about, though. That's for sure. Chris H. says Michael Thomas stubs his toe and he's out for the season. Maybe so. Maybe so. Might not be wrong there. All right, we got lots to get into. Everybody do us a favor by hitting like and share. If you're on Facebook, like, share to all those social media groups, share to all of those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you are listening to a podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate y'all doing that. Share. There's like over 300 of you in here. We need 300 likes right now. We need 300 likes right now. Do us a favor by doing that. Okay. Let's take a quick break. Spring, at least day one for media was today. We were out there. I got to see our good friend Zach Nagy. Bryce Kuhn was out there. Had a good conversation with him from 247 Sports. Who else? Wilson, Saul Wilson out there today too. Scarborough and Buddy. So good day. Good day. Let's take a quick break. What do we think about what's going to look like for the Tigers in 2024? We talk about that next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. Do any of you, when our good friends over at J&J Exterminating, the commercial comes on at the end, their jingle, do you go, J&J Exterminating? Yeah. I know I do. Appreciate our good friend Paul and all the people over there at J&J Exterminating. Any of your exterminating needs, let them know that Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. Okay. So we were out there today for spring football practice with LSU, and I will tell you there's not a lot from a one-on-one scenario, which we did not see any one-on-one today that we can sit here and break down. But I got to admit, day one, going out there, new look, 2024 LSU, I went straight for the defense when we got out there. I thought there were a lot of good things that I saw because I think that the defense today is going to be very high intensity under Blake Baker. Like we knew that going in, they had some very high intensity today. Blake Baker was talking to every position group about what he wants to see and what he wants to have happen in his defense, even though it's running to the ball drill, lining up here, doing this off of certain formations, dummy formations. I thought that he just was like, he was not pulling any punches and pretty much telling guys, you need to know where to go now. Go now, play fast. Go now, play fast. And that is what we saw defensively. Now, in the three different little series or reps that we saw with the ones, they were extremely, I would say, multiple. They had a stand-up DN on one side, the left and right side. They would flip it, whatever was the strong side of the formation. Major Burns was down at the line of scrimmage, and you had basically him going to be at least that star position, possibly a big-time factor in the running game, and they had one free high safety. And today we saw a lot of Zachary's own Kylan Jackson back there. So I do think that they are, at least right now, their quote-unquote base, okay, is going to be a very multiple, very to the line of scrimmage. You're not going to run the ball on us. We are going to come after your ass. We are going to come after your quarterback, and there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it. I love that style of defense. I think that Blake Baker is preparing for that. And I don't think that there's any other way to play defense other than highly aggressive. I am not a fan, personally, of waiting and not sending pressure. I guess as a former O-lineman, I feel that as if that there is, when you put more pressure on them, you put more pressure on the quarterback, it affects everything in today's league. Look, we've seen Michigan. We've seen Georgia do it. Both of those teams have combined to win the last 3 national titles. Quite honestly, you did that a lot as well when you won it, LSU meaning in 2019. So did 2020 Bama. So teams that we see in college football that get after the quarterback the most historically win and win big. I think that's what they're going to try to do here. I think there's 2 big things here that I want to point out. Harold Perkins playing what they are considering a weak side linebacker. I think when Brian Kelly made the announcement, and we warned you about this, like, hey, playing weak side backer is not necessarily going to mean what you think it's going to mean. Like, he's not going to be in the box all the time. So he's going to be on the outskirts of things, playing more to the line of scrimmage, which I got to be real. I think today, to some extent, my validations were confirmed because they ran an odd man front, and we had talked about this over the last 2 weeks. They're going to come out more in an odd man front with a guy standing up. They're going to have star positions, guys on the line of scrimmage. Harold Perkins on the other side just being an absolute terror. I think that's what they're going to utilize him as. It's exactly what I expected. Exactly what I expected. Guys, we have film of us discussing this just literally this week about what I felt that the defense was going to do. Other than that, I mean, there's not too much to get into other than what we saw at position groups as well. So we'll go through each of at least some of the new coaches. We'll talk about offense here in a minute. Bo Davis, let's start off from defense. Linebackers, we've talked about Blake Baker. We'll talk about him, corners, and then safeties. Bo Davis was not having it today. He just was not having it. Look, I think Jamar Cain was a really good D-line coach, but I wrote this down in my notes, and we have this circled in our notes 6 times. If I did not hear the words better technique from Bo Davis 6 or 7 times today, that was legitimately everything that he talked about. Technique, technique, technique. And it does beg the question, if he is teaching them something brand new, I understand it. But I think that he is just seeing sloppiness, and he was not having it today. Physical hands at the point of attack, getting off blocks. Don't let that man hold on to you. That's what like he said that at least 6 times today too. Don't let that man hold on to you. Get out of there. Which assumes to me that they're not going to play this style of defense like we saw last year under Matt House, where the D-line, their job, at least in the scheme that they ran, their job is not to get in the backfield in the running game. Their job was to hold on the blocks and let the linebackers get there. Very outdated on how you're supposed to run things in schematically defensively, especially in the running game. Bo wants them to get after it. And I think what happened today is another vantage point of LSU tweeted out a picture of Brad Davis and Bo Davis saying they're getting after it. Yeah, they're getting after it. They sure as shit getting after it all right. But just because I think Bo Davis is getting after it doesn't solve his problem. Now, could it help a little bit of his problem if guys start getting better, having better technique that maybe that they did not get a year ago? Maybe. You know, just how big was this Jimmy Lindsey going down thing last year? It's massive. It's a massive story. It's a massive thing that went on. Then you have to bring in an analyst who hasn't coached D-line in a while. Big time thing. I just got to admit, it was good to see a D-line coach that is of that pinnacle and that prestige out there coaching today. Kevin Peoples. I think Kevin Peoples is going to be one of the biggest hires that we made in this entire cycle. I've been saying it since the day he was hired. He is the straw that is going to stir the Blake Baker drink defensively. He's got some weapons to work with. He's got Deshaun Womack, who got a lot of reps today. Braden Swinson, that got a lot of reps today. They're going to be some. I do think on the edge, where I don't like you on the interior, I like you much more on the edge with Swinson, Womack. I'd like you with Howard and others that are at that position. And at times today, Blake Baker giving Kevin Peoples Harold Perkins. So you have Blake Baker who comes in here. The only guy that he really wants, the first guy that he wants is Kevin Peoples. Jake Olson comes later. But Kevin Peoples being his dude. You don't think that they're not talking about the same things? You don't think that they know exactly what they need to teach Harold Perkins to run and be a part of his defense? I thought it was a great communication. I thought Brian Kelly brought this up today. He in his press conference saying that he was surprised about how good the communication was early, even in these 6 weeks. I agree with him. I do agree with him. We'll get to the Brian Kelly thing about the player-led team in just a moment. But remember I said this. I do think last year you didn't hear a lot of chatter, right? Like at practice, which I'm assuming led to games, you just didn't hear chatter defensively. Today, they were calling out shit that they needed to call out. Does it translate to the field? I just don't know. Like, I legitimately don't know. But I do agree fully on the communication thing. So Kevin Peoples, just teaching technique, and I think he's going to be able to mold some of those guys like Swinson and Womack. We've talked about Blake Baker here. I will just add on, I feel like I'm having deja vu in a way. You seen him out there today in cleats, like Blake Baker out there in a hat wearing cleats with the dudes. Like, hey, man, we're going to do this together. We're going to run through this together. I feel like I'm back in 2020. I really do. It was good to see him. It was good to see just how effective you think he is and will be with these backers. There's a little bit more energy from a guy like Harold Perkins, I felt. Maybe a Whit Weeks and Greg Penn. Greg Penn kind of looking kind of good. I got to be honest with you. Pause, but I thought Greg Penn was pretty explosive today out of some things. I'm going to keep my eyes on Greg Penn. I do wonder, and it's something that I wrote down today, is Greg Penn going to be the guy? We talk a lot about Harold Perkins, Whit Weeks. Is Greg Penn going to be the dude that ultimately develops and takes that next step? I think he just looks the part more now. Like last year, I thought he was developing more into being the part. He certainly, from a physical standpoint, looks the part a lot better, I thought, today. So Greg Penn, maybe someone we need to keep our eyes on very, very closely as the spring goes on. Corey Raymond is back at LSU. Basically, man, I mean, we're going to need to see them. At least I'm going to need to see them. We saw, and we talked about this, things that we had heard from Tuesday's practice. The DB's not looking good, but he's got a lot of them. And I do think that Brian Kelly illustrated today in the post practice report of what he thought he saw from Corey Raymond. They were running through a lot of technique stuff, man. I think just him and Steeples have a completely different philosophy on how they do things, how they are going to jam up dudes and run maybe some man-to-man and be a little bit more physical. Look, Corey still coaches, and this is the style that he teaches, and this is the style that he wants to run. They ran a lot of stuff today and technique work on man v man coverage. That is like they're all lined up. The corners and corners are all lined up, and they're going, hey, guy takes a step right foot, left hand. Guys takes a step with left foot, right hand. Like that's their drill and opening their hips. They ran that all day. That's all they're running. Now, again, it's man coverage. It's day 2. The only thing that they practiced on today that we saw, man v man, one-on-one. So that is Corey Raymond. I mean, that's what they're going to run. That's what they want to run. That's what we saw from Corey Raymond. J.K. Johnson was back at practice. We talked about this in our practice report. Brian Kelly having some words for J.K. He had a towel, like a long towel that was coming out of the back of his pants. It was like almost hitting the ground. Brian Kelly making some jokes over there with him about that. But, yes, here's how we saw the lineup, and we'll talk about – well, actually, I'll just get to the lineup after we go to Jake Olson. Jake Olson was an interesting thing for me today because Blake was running his defense. Jake Olson seemed like his number 2 and how he wanted to do things. Blake Baker was with the linebackers in secondary. Okay, and then it was Jake Olson doing the, hey, this is what you need. This is what the formation you're going to see. This is how you're going to attack it and then move forward. So you got one guy whose eyes are in the front, Okay, seeing where his DBs are going and the guy in the back seeing the front seven. You just have to understand it. Seemed to be Blake's number 2 today and where he was going to things. So I did like some of the things I saw from Jake Olson. They did a lot of the same stuff, a lot of zone stuff today with him, and how they cover Kylan Jackson, believe it or not, getting a lot of reps with the ones that we saw today as well. Here was the guys. So Ashton Stamps was on one boundary. J.K. Johnson was on the other. Harold Perkins, Major Burns, Kylan Jackson, Jordan Gilbert was the free rotating in with Kylan Jackson, and then your typical D-line that you would think, and Gabe Rutherford being on the outside running with some of the ones as well here. But you had Savion Jones, Jacobian Guillory, Sean Washington, and then you had Deshaun Womack, Swinson, or Rutherford. So that was your defensive lineup today. They ran a lot of guys in with the ones. That was the first unit that we had saw. Sage Ryan was back with the safeties today, spelling out Major Burns, who was in that on-the-line star position. They rotated a lot, a hell of a lot. So one thing that we could say, at least in what seems to be their base, if Sage Ryan was going to stay at the boundary, you would think that he would have been there today. He was not there today. It was Stamps, and it was J.K. Johnson. So interesting. You just got 2 corners out there. The other ones are a big hybrid will linebacker safety, and then Major Burns on your other safety that's in that nickel, which means you're probably going to run a lot of zone. You're going to incorporate some blitzes with man coverage behind it. They're going to be there. Man, I'm telling you, they're going to get after the quarterback here. They're going to get after the quarterback. But Major Burns being on the line of scrimmage, I think, was the talk that a lot of people had today. I don't really mind that. I just don't think he's a guy that you keep. I think you keep 10 yards, 15 yards in. Him playing in space 15, 20 yards down the field is just not his game, man. The reason he had success in 2022 was because he was at the line of scrimmage a lot. He would get in the box a lot and make big hits. That was why Burns had a lot of success in 22. You got to get him back to that situation. I don't know if he stays there. We got all spring to figure that out, but that's where he was. But Kylan Jackson, Jordan Gilbert was your one high single safety today. They were not playing too high, which was what they played all last year. Guys, we did not have a single high safety, not once. Once, not all year. Not once did we have a single high safety. They are going to be in your face on the line of scrimmage. You have no idea where any of this shit's coming from, and we're coming after your ass. Pause. But that's just the truth. So that's how the defense looked today. I will I don't know that, Wade. I see what you're saying. I don't know if he will be in the booth. He said, we can bring it up. Guys, we can bring it up. He says, Wade McBride says, think that Baker will be on the field or the booth. Probably the field. He was on the field last year. And Joe Sloan I think Joe Sloan is going to be in the booth. That's what I think. That's what I think. Maybe both of them are downstairs. I have no clue. So that's the defense. I will get to your questions in just a moment. Let's go to the offense before I field some of them, though. Offensively, guys, it's what you would have expected. The only thing that I think is of major value today, there was some signal calling into, like, guys on the sideline signal calling. I wish we would have asked about radios and helmets, because Joe Sloan kept talking, on a walkie-talkie, and I'm interested to know if that was going into Garrett's helmet or if that's going to the sideline. Like, I'm interested to find out that dynamic of how they're doing things, because I don't know if Garrett's is calling out the play when they're at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out. But I do think that was interesting that Joe Sloan, who's on their ass today. Listen to me now. I really thought I saw a junior Mike Denbrock on how he wanted things run. I will give Joe Sloan that. Denbrock did not play when it came to simple stuff, doing things the right way. That's why they were so good last year. But as to be expected along the offense, nothing really chaotic. I mean, look, you got C.J. Daniels, Kyron Lacy, Chris Hilton in there. In the slot, you're incorporating Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson. The entirety of the offensive line is what you would expect. Will Campbell, Garrett Dellinger, DJ Chester, Miles Frazier, and Emory Jones. So that's what it is, man. I mean, that's where you're at. That's who you have. And they ran a lot of the same stuff. It was kind of like business as usual today offensively. I mean, yes, you had Garrett doing some different things. They didn't go under center. They didn't show anything that, let me just say it like this. They did not show anything that we did not know. Right? Like, there's nothing new revelation. I think that we saw C.J. Daniels, the transfer from Liberty. He looked good. I think that Nuss does look like he's put on some muscle mass. Saw him today. Actually walked out with him when we left. He was walking out, and I was coming around the corner, and we walked out together. He's definitely put on some muscle mass as well. I just don't know what to tell you about offensively. I think got to see Ricky Collins. He was the number 2 quarterback. Swan was behind Collins at 3, and then young Colin Hurley, who I thought threw the ball really well today for a young man. They're all there. They got a deep quarterback room when it comes to scholarship guys. No walk-ons. Did not see a walk-on in that room. But it does go Nuss, who ran every snap with the ones. No Ricky Collins today. Swan, and then you had the young man in Colin Hurley. I will tell you, the biggest thing for me today offensively that I just kept talking about because it was so apparent. Guys, this spring, you're just not going to see running backs. I mean, you're going to see Colin Jackson running with the ones. I do think you will see Josh Williams at times. I just don't think they're going to utilize him a lot this spring, and it is Caleb Jackson's workload here. It is his time. It is his time to show what he can do. But my God, are they thin in that room. They got a scholarship dude in Caleb Jackson, a scholarship guy in Josh Williams, who, by the way, came here as a walk-on, and then like 4 other walk-on running backs. It is a thin unit right now. Again, I can harp on this all the live long day. We can talk about and see what's going to happen with the Trey Holly thing. I don't think you can wait. I legitimately don't think that you can wait for for Trey Holly. You got to go. I know that Caden Durham's coming in. You cannot go into the year with 3 scholarship backs. You can't do it unless Malachi Lane, the walk-on, goes completely off this spring. Gosh, it's just the only position group that you're just not good enough at right now. You're not good enough at it right now. Offensively, you look a lot alike. The only difference, quite honestly, in my opinion, was Jaden Daniels wasn't running all over the place. You had a good connection with Nussmeier and his receivers. Got some good connection, obviously, in communication with your offensive line. Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams were taking a lot of the snaps. But you had an issue when if you try to spell one of them, right? Guys, you're just not deep at that unit. And you're going to maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, obviously, of any coach that's in this situation, and I probably should have said this a long time ago, of any coach that's in this situation that I know will remedy it and knows what he should do, it's probably Frank. More than anybody, I'm not worried about the position. I'm just telling you, as of right now, as we see it, by far is the biggest glaring weakness on this team right now. Anybody that remotely thinks that you can go in there with 3 after what you saw today. And now I've been beating that drum ever since the incident. You cannot go into the season with 3 scholarship running backs. You cannot do it. Unless a miracle happens and you get another Josh Williams. That's the only way that happens. So, yeah. All right. Let's field some of your questions. KJ says, ask Blake, were there any? There we go. Blake, were there any offensive linemen working with D-line today? Nico Arkemo Macanole was, but other than that, no, not that I saw. And when I was vividly focused on the defensive line, no, not that I saw. Wade McBride also says, do you think Baker will be in the booth of the field? I do believe, I think he'll be on the field, but I don't know. Boogie Season says, Blake, the blitzes are man blitzes, or the best blitzes are man blitzes, excuse me. So we need to be able to run the ball and cover our man. Probably. They mixed up both of it, man. I mean, it's great to see Kylan Jackson out there. I do think Jordan Gilbert's going to be your free high, right? He's going to be the dude that is just your patrol cop back there, making sure nothing gets by him. He is the ultimate safety blanket. This is what they want to run. But guys, you got 3 base defensive linemen down and an outside backer standing up. I mean, you're not necessarily. You're relying on everything else around your defensive line, especially in the interior, more than you are the interior of the defensive line. I mean, you're going to have to get after them, man. You can't be like Matt House and be so worried that you give up big plays that you won't be aggressive. You're going to give up the plays anyway. Guys, I'm just going to tell you. Scheme-wise, yeah, can you call something bad and a busted coverage happens and it's a score? Yeah, sure. But good defenses are going to be good defenses regardless of sometimes when you call what you call. Like sometimes if you're going man-to-man coverage, guys, there's nothing you can do with it. Like if all else fails and you go man v man, then sometimes it's not on Matt House. I don't think Matt House was the blame for all of it last year. Like, let's get that understood. But you're just not going to be passive. You're not going to sit on your hands and you're not going to wait. I think is the biggest thing for me. Easily the biggest thing for me. Go harder or go home says, was J.K. Johnson back practicing? He was. What was Hankton's role today? Conrad said he was on the sideline. I couldn't get a good visual of him, to be honest with you. I don't know if he was, communicating, going through plays, but they did a lot of technique work, So, I mean, normally he's on the sideline, like the far sideline, calling some things in. Sometimes he's behind the coordinator so he can get on his receiver's ass, but he didn't have to get on them today. There was nothing that the receivers did and didn't do that he didn't like. Nothing. I mean, guys, I got to tell you, it was for what we saw today and just free open flow, running plays on there on some of it, it's as fine-tuned as an old machine as you've seen, man. I mean, like what you saw against Wisconsin. I mean, it hadn't gotten any worse. Not yet. Not yet. Defense hadn't done anything to make it worse. Not a damn thing. They are, so they're gonna have to figure that out. Boogie Season says, Blake, we need to find some interior defensive linemen in the portal. No doubt. You don't have a choice there. Yeah, you don't have a choice there. Colby says, I think Caleb Jackson is going to have a breakout year, but I do think we need to go after another back, says Colby. That's another thing you don't have a choice in. Guys, you can't. Again, think about it like this. Okay, last year you had 7 scholarship running backs. There were 6 games last year. You had 2 of them that were out and hurt. 6. That's half of your regular season. So when Noah Cain came in against Florida and scored touchdowns, or his only touchdown of the year, yeah, you want to know why that is? Because you had 7. 7. Guys, you're an injury away from being in a massive problem where you're just airing it out all the time, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm not saying that you can't go in there with 3. I'm not saying it's like, if they do it, it's going to be extremely risky, but it's not like they can't. They're just going to have to throw the ball out all over the place, which you got to establish the run in this league. Like, you're going to have to be able to run the football. Like, let's not mistake in that. GH, go hard or go home, says, Blake, what about Shelton Sampson? Did he get any first-team reps with the ones? Not that I saw today, no. Not that I saw today, too, no, at all. I mean, be honest with you, there was a dog-eat-dog world out there a little bit on Tuesday and a little bit out there today. I don't think anybody wants to give up their spot, to be real with you. I think C.J. Daniels has got something to prove. I think Kyron Lacy is showing that he's got something to prove. I think Aaron Anderson is tired of not being a factor here. Somebody who was forced the football today a lot and was forced the football a lot on Tuesday, scoring 2 touchdowns, 1v1. So, no, I do not believe that well, this is what I believe. There's so much competition going on in that room right now that I do think that the best is just going to have to come up to the top. There's a difference between being ultra talented, because I do think that room's ultra talented. But I do also think that you have a lot of inexperience. So you have guys that are trying to be starters, so they're giving you everything you got. Like last year as an example, or even 2 years ago. Guys, 2 years ago, you knew who your receivers were going to be. That's why Jack Besh left. He knew it was going to be BTJ. He knew it was going to be Malik. He knew it was going to be Kayshawn. Well, Kayshawn didn't go all out for you, and we talked about how, look, there's an issue in that room. BTJ didn't really hit it until this spring. But you saw a lot of the potential in all of that, too. I think you're above that. I think C.J. Daniels is going to be somebody that you hope to be a game changer. Obviously, coming off of what he did at Liberty, you look at a guy like Kyron Lacy, 3rd year in the program. Can he take that next step? There are so many guys working to be the dude or a dude on an offense who's going to throw a football around. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Shelton Sampson's in that. I just don't think that he's done enough physically to impress the coaches. Like, for example, like Brian Kelly talked about this today, which we'll talk about coming out of the break. Brian Kelly talked about this today in his press conference. Shelton Sampson, look, if somebody goes man v man and jams him up, he's in trouble. If they play off the ball, they play off of him, he's a nightmare for them. Just need to become a little bit more all around. Justin says, when will Zy Alexander come back to the field? He won't be back until fall. Yeah, he won't be back until fall camp. He's not going to be here. I mean, he tore his ACL, what? No, November, December, January, February. So he's going into month 5. Going into month 5. All right. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Let's go pay some bills very quickly. So about our good friends over at Home Field Apparel, our good friends over at Bayou Daiquiri and Bayou Boulder. Go stay with us.
Ruffino and Joe Show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, which is the best, without a doubt, premium collegiate apparel brand that is out there. They have over 150 different colleges that you can choose from, whether you're an Illinois fan or a Rutgers fan, maybe you're an LSU fan like Blake, or maybe you're an Alabama fan. Whatever it is, even Idaho, they have so many different designs for so many different football programs that I can guarantee you're going to find some great stuff to help root for your favorite team. I've already gotten my Notre Dame stuff. Blake has his LSU stuff. Make sure you head on over to homefieldapparel.com to check out your team's collection of clothing, apparel that they have on the website. And when you do so, when you check out, make sure you use promo code Ruffino Joe to get 15% off your order. That is RUFFINO, Ruffino Joe. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and get your college gear today.
Bayou Daiquiris at Bayou Bowl and Go is owned and operated locally by Steve and Lisa Bean. You can find them at 1512 North Highway 190 in Covington, Louisiana. That's 1512 North Highway 190 in Covington. The North Shore's first crawfish drive-thru is about to step it up another notch by bringing you drive-thru daiquiris as well. You can call in your order today at 985-888-1914, 985-888-1914, because you know what? Daiquiris and crawfish, it's a Louisiana thing.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Couple more questions we'll fire in here when we get to the BK stuff, and we'll wrap it up with some baseball. Deadeye Jed says, Blake, how did McKinley look today? He is not coming in until the summer. He was not out there today. I do think Gabe Rutherford, though, did look pretty good. They got a lot of guys on this team, man. A lot of dudes. There's a lot of guys out there today. Colby says, how did we look at DB today? I thought fair. I mean, you didn't have any one-on-one stuff. I think P.J. Woodland is a guy that I'm very interested in to see if he gets some reps. There's been a lot of talk about him in camp so far and this offseason so far. So I'm very interested to see about P.J. Woodland. I did think that God dog it. Oh, Deshaun McBride looked the part too. So interesting seeing a kid that wears number 10 that's not can be such a shithead sometimes, because that's what Deshaun McBride's number was. They're very long in the secondary, pause, but they're very long in the secondary. They got some tall kids. They got some guys with long arms. They looked apart. They got some dudes now. They got some dudes. They got a lot of guys that they can play, and maybe some guys that they could play early if they need to. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think you look bad. Brandon Reese says, Blake, what are you looking forward to in tomorrow's practice? We will not be out there tomorrow. They have closed it to the media, Saturday's practice, but we'll be out there, I think, sometime next week. When pads are coming on, we can get out there for a full practice or two, see them. You know, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. So we will not be out there for tomorrow. If you're asking me what I'm expecting for the next practice, I want to see 1v1. I want to see like what everything Blake Baker is running. Like, we got a long way to go in watching all this. Let's see how good the defense can be with some decent play calling. And we go from there. So Brian Kelly, so let's get to this. Brian Kelly did meet with the media today. I thought that he had some very big-time things to say in first press conference going into year 3 of spring. What I do think is interesting is Brian Kelly says that he feels as if that this team is more player-led than it's ever been. You know, guys just – really coaching the team themselves and not letting the coaches do it, which is interesting because I do think a little bit of that is coach speak because, I mean, I know what he means by the standard, like, hey, man, we go through the bag on this. This is how we run drills. This is how we do it. I do understand what he means. I do wonder how much of that is coach speak versus how much of that is just he had said that this is what he wants to look like in year 3 with his culture and all this kind of stuff. But I do think that there's some truth to what he said because of the chatter and things that we saw today. We've seen the last couple of weeks players come out and be vocal that being a 10-win team is not good enough here. We need to get over that hump. So I do think you get a little lock-in and buy-in there from guys saying stuff like that. Now, who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the guy to step up? I do think that we're going to have to find that out. Hopefully it's a guy like Garrett. Hopefully it's a guy like Kyron. Hopefully it's a guy like Greg Penn, Harold Perkins. Guys, it's year 3 for Harold Perkins. I thought BK illustrated it perfectly today when he said, there's urgency around all of this. He ain't wrong. There is urgency around Perkins. So I do think some of it may be coaches speak, but I do think that he's right when he says, hey, man, there's a lot of guys on this team that's got a lot of urgency. They can't play around anymore. Like, this is it for some of them. Like, if you're going to go out there and do it, this is the time to do it, which does make you be a leader and saying, hey, man, I don't have no more time to waste. We got to start picking this up now. I think you could say that for Garrett. I think you could say it for guys like Mason Taylor. I mean, the only 2 guys that I don't think have to pick it up is Will Campbell and Emory Jones. There's nobody else on the team that's got to pick up their style of play more than your tackles. None. So you would have hoped that would have happened last year. It sure as shit happened on offense. It just took a massive dump on defense because Matt House can be a biatch. That's just the truth. There's some urgency. Pressure can make diamonds or it can crumble you. What's crazy about this, and I say this all the time, or I did say it all the time, especially during the regular season last year, it's crazy to me to think like, hey, man, you're a 10-win program, okay? You're not where you want to be, but, man, we're having these negative thoughts and concerns about things, and Brian Kelly's won 20 games in 2 years. Everybody knows, himself included, that they have to be better. But I do feel the tension. I think that tension is the good word that you get around that building. You know, I walked in there today, right into football ops. You can feel the tension. Like, for example, walk by the medical room. I remember when I was at Southeastern, you walk past the medical room, guys are in there talking, cutting up a little bit, just whatever. Not today. Not today. Like laser focused in the medical room. Like I'm walking out of there like, damn, man. Like there's 20 dudes in there, just getting like little small treatments about this, that, and that. No, quiet. Looked like they were about, I'll be honest with you, I felt like they were about to go in there and play a game. The way that Kylan Jackson looked, I'm like, this dude, he's getting locked in. He's undefeated 8-0 Alabama, undefeated LSU 8-0. That's how locked in he looked. So the culture, I think right now is very solid, but ready to perform. Like they want to perform. Got to develop and got to get better. Got to get stronger, man. Got to get stronger. Got to get faster. Just got to know what you need to do too. Like not everything's about the weight room. I mean, it is, okay, but even just knowing all of your assignments, what you need to do on and off the field and being responsible. I don't know if there's anything else that Brian Kelly said today. I mean, I would probably have to go down my handy-dandy notes here just to make sure. Let me make sure that we got to the big points. I mean, maybe when Brian Kelly said, yeah, we talked about Harold Perkins. He said on the running game that we might have one of the best offensive lines in the country. I guess that's pretty big. So Brian Kelly today says that I think that we have one of the best offensive lines in the country. They're athletic and we can use them by pulling, etc., doing different things. The O-line will play a much larger role this year. He also said, the running backs will have a big part, but we got to lean on our offensive line. Nothing that we did not already know there. On LSU offensive coordinator Joe Sloan, I thought it was interesting that BK said that, well, he's had an audition the last few years of any position coach that I've had at LSU. I've spent the most time with Joe being in the quarterback room. And that basically, he's had 2 years to pitch that this is his time. And he pitched BK, and it is his time. Brian Kelly says, I have been around him, and I think that he has the leadership capabilities and the right philosophy. It's just his time. So, yeah. Those are the big things that Brian Kelly had to say today. Okay. Let me see any thoughts, questions, concerns. David says, if Harold Perkins don't have a good year, then he should know that he would need to come back for a senior year. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. A guy like him, the NFL is going to fall all over. They're going to blame it. They're going to say, well, that was LSU. That wasn't Harold Perkins. I don't know if I agree with you on that. Danny Girl says, the player-led comment did not surprise me because of Nuss. Nuss has been a leader since day one, and is it natural for him? He has been leading from the bench, and now it's up front. I don't know about that, Danny. I'm not gonna go there. I think he needs to be more vocal or lead by example. What has he done in reference to lead? I think the tension is led on by him too. Like, hey, we got to get rolling. I don't know if he is the one out there saying, hey, guys, run through the bags. I think more of that's like on Kyron Lacey. I think some of that was on Will Campbell today, like telling everybody that was on offense, as an example, how the cow ate the cabbage. I don't know that. I will say this. Garrett was not vocal today for some of the stuff that Brian Kelly was talking about, leadership stuff. Doesn't mean he hadn't been. Doesn't mean he won't be. He needs to be, though. I just don't know if I agree with that, but I do see where you're coming from. Cole Adams says, for me, defensive lining up on the ball and playing fast with tenacity, will be a huge step up to the LSU standard. You'd hope so. You would hope so. So yeah. All right, before we get out of here, let's finish with this, because LSU takes on Xavier this weekend. You're going to see the same lineup starting from on the mound. Guys, it's your last weekend before you go into conference play. You didn't hit the ball great or well against Southeastern, but Jay Johnson, interesting enough, last night told you, like, hey, man, basically exactly what we said in the postgame last night. Jay said to Koki Riley, like, hey, man, they're going to be a really good team. I think they're going to get to a regional. This could be a big midweek win. So let's go out there and throw Uola. Let's throw Lore. Didn't look good, but it's okay. Guidry, and then Ackenhausen to close it out and win it. All I'm saying here is continue to progress, get better, show a lot of the same things that you saw last weekend against Xavier this weekend, and you'll be fine. You'll go into conference play looking great. You can go into Starkville, a series where the team that struggled a little bit here early on. So, yeah, I'm excited. Very, very excited. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow. If maybe we'll do a post game, who knows? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, you just never know with us. You never know. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.